start the record. And here we go. And everything's set up. Okay, so finally back to some inking. It's been a while, but I had some other projects that I needed to get out beforehand. So here we have some sexy time with Nobunaga. And I'm going to be inking over that with some stuff. Okay, so we'll just start zooming in and start with the nose. I always start with the nose when I ink, if I'm inking a face. I have no rational reason for it, it's just something I like to do. Start with the nose. And this is Lady Nobunaga creeping on Nobunaga, who is with some other chick. Because remember, our version of Nobunaga is a crazy person. And let's see here. So this is not technically accurate to the Sengoku hairstyle or makeup style. Like, I think if she was a lady of the court, she'd have you know, these high eyebrows and pursed lips and be extremely made up with the pancake makeup and all that kind of stuff. But we're just kind of going for the impression of the era, so complete accuracy is not an issue, at least according to Koji. So he's not worried about 100% accuracy, because this, I mean, even though Yasuke was a historical figure, this is very much centered in a historical fiction universe. So we're taking some liberties with things. I'm designing weird ass things for people to wear, armor that wouldn't have existed, just because I can. So we're trying to give the impression of an era rather than beholden to historically accurate portrayals. Because we're not going to know the full story anyway. Everything is told through legends and whispers and things like that. So we know Yasuke existed, but we don't have like rigorous record keeping. And the funny thing is, I get so used to flipping the canvas around digitally that, like, the past couple sessions when I was drawing for real, like inking these things, pencil and paper and pen and ink and on an actual paper, like I never flipped anything. So now that I look at these things up to the light and I can see some some of the proportions are a little skewed. So I got used to the digital workflow. You know, the reason I did the shirts in pen and ink on paper is so that I could sell the inks, because one of the things that my listserv was saying is that they were interested in more original artwork. So shirts and things like that. So I thought I would kill two birds with one stone and design those shirts like I used to, with pencil and pen and ink and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of fun, but like I've definitely sold my soul to the the digital workflow and the advantages of working digitally. So at some point I'm gonna have to just retrain my brain to see things more evenly. So that was amusing to me and slightly disappointing. It's like, man, I really should be able to do that without having to flip things virtually. And I suppose you could do the same thing if you have a light table. But I kind of work in the living room here, so I'm sprawled out as much as I should be. But yeah, if you can flip your work, or if you have access to a really bright light, or like the bathroom light or something like that, or oh yeah, the bathroom mirror, you can take a look at your piece in the mirror and see if it's the way you want to look, the way you want it to look in mirror image. And if it's not, you gotta tweak some stuff. So mirrors are very helpful. I'm trying to keep these loose in terms of my inking. If you saw my previous streams with the ink work that I was working on for the t-shirts, that's pretty tight. That's my typical inking style, with like very deliberate strokes. Even some of the more organic bits, it's very deliberate. Even though I use a lot of I use the line weight to denote certain areas and things like that, it's still very methodical and kind of fussy. So with the digital, ironically, I'm trying to be a little less precise when I ink digitally, at least for this book. So I don't know how successful it is, but that's my intention. So being a little less fussy and not worrying too much about making the line do exactly what I want it to do. That's why when I generally ink on paper, I use brushes, because I like the happy accidents that occur when you ink with a brush. You may intend a line to go a certain way, but the brush says otherwise. So you just have to live with it. So I'm trying to retain that similar feel when I ink this stuff, draw and ink this stuff. Doesn't always work out. But it's very easy to get fussy when you're working digitally. It's very easy to kind of want to make every little bit as perfect as possible. One thing that kind of annoys me when people ask me if I do things digitally, as if to dismiss the actual skill, like as if the implication being that the computer does all the work. When people ask me that question, oh, do you do all your stuff digitally? Sure, I do it all digitally, but I still have to draw. Like, I'm still drawing with my hand. You know? It's not... The computer doesn't magically do all this stuff for you. You still have to know what proportions are and what shapes are and how to build form and stuff with your stylus. You know, the computer doesn't guide your hand. You guide your hand. So I kind of bristle when people ask that question with the implication that the computer does most of the heavy lifting. It's like, no, motherfucker, I do most of the heavy lifting. Like, the only difference between me doing this on a computer and me doing this on here is that at the end of the day, I don't have smudge marks from ink from my brushes when I'm doing it in the computer. That's the main difference. I still have to put in the work. I still, you know, it still takes me hours to do this stuff. Like, this inking session is probably going to take an hour or so. You know? Sure, it makes things easier from a production standpoint because I can separate inks from the shades, and that helps me if I need to make changes to the color or the setting or like the time of day. You know, I can't easily do that when you've already inked things and started painting things with like watercolors and stuff. But you know, my hands are still doing the work. So the computer is just another tool like any other, like a paintbrush or a pencil. So the only thing that does kind of go faster sometimes is the autofill plugin that I've got. So okay, the autofill plugin goes faster, and the computer does all that itself. But if I've found that I've rarely used that these days, even though I purchased it, I rarely use the auto flat plugin. I just find it more satisfying to do it myself. And in some respects, it doesn't really save time because I still have to recolor everything. The plugin is great because it fills things automatically. So any closed off shape, it fills things automatically, and then it also expands the borders of the colors so that it gets rid of the line art, so that you can trap the colors underneath the line art, which is another discussion. So that's nice, but because it's automated, it chooses random colors to separate objects. So you'll get flesh tones that are, you know, things that are supposed to be flesh tones will be like neon green or something like that. So you have to go back and recolor everything. So it just adds a step, and sometimes that step takes more time than it's worth, rather than if you just flatted it yourself from the get-go. So I've started to move away from the auto flatting. It hasn't been as useful as I initially thought it was. You know, there's no like draw samurai button that you can click and have the computer draw the samurai for you. You have to do that yourself. So it's just fortunate that we have tools that are sophisticated enough to mimic natural medium or real world brushes and strokes and weights. Like I don't think I would be getting this far without without Kyle's brush set. So I'm not in any way endorsed by him. I don't know him personally, but his brushes are fucking amazing. So I highly recommend getting that. So again, I'm using this pocket brush for shading in the hair because I like the texture it gives, and it helps to I like the edges that it looks like it mimics the ink bleed on the page. I would love to see how they do this hairstyle. I based this off of some reference photos from like hair design, and I would love to see how they end up doing this, because it seems like a lot of different layers and some bun thing, and then like this weird looking comb that just crosses through the back, and then there's this like sluggy half macaroni tube on top. This thing, like how the fuck, how does that work? How do you make that? I mean, intellectually I know you just take a bunch of hair and loop it, but like how do you get the round donut thing? And you know, then there's that poof in the front. Like, I'm sure there are YouTube videos on this, so you know, after I do all this I'll probably look it up on YouTube. Whoops. It's like a series, your hair is a series of tubes. Like, I imagine to get enough length to make this happen, her hair must be down like way past her ass crack. That's a lot of stuff, man. That's a lot of hair to like ravel up. Either that or it's an elaborate wig. But I don't know how elaborate wigs were back in the Sengoku era, or if wigs were a thing. At some point I should probably take a class and learn me some Japanese history. Gonna see some Nobunaga Happy Trail. More flippy flips. This eye looks real bad. Should be smaller, I think. Yeah. And let's see, where's my Nobunaga? There we go. I knew that looked weird. So Nobunaga without his top knot. It looks like he has a weird ass mullet. That's fine. Whatever works, man. He started it. He started off back then, the weird Japanese mullet that some people have. Nobunaga invented the Japa mullet. Japa Morito. Let's see here. Whoops. Let's reload this. Okay. Alright, now everything's loading fine. Don't be afraid to use shading, he says to himself. This particular page is somewhat later in the book, so I tend to skip around when I lay out things and draw things and ink things, just to keep things fresh, I guess. There's nothing wrong with working in order. I just like to skip around ahead. Certain things I wanted to draw first just to get a handle on it. So, I guess I could talk about my setup. I'm working on a Cintiq Companion 2. I used to have the 12WX whatever Cintiq. I called it the baby Cintiq, and it was okay. It was not very portable. Like, it had a gigantic interface brick that had a plug for the USB into the computer, and then like the cable out to the computer, and it had this gigantic thing, and so I had to find a space for that and all this other stuff. The Companion 2 has slimmed down all that stuff that you need to carry. So it's got a power cable. Oops. It's got a power cable, and then it's got a cable that goes directly into the computer, so that's pretty cool. So fewer cables to mess with and all that kind of stuff. So it makes life a lot easier, and it's portable. The only problem is that, and hopefully the microphone is placed in a area such that you can't hear it too bad, but there's a lot of fan noise. So that's the one drawback that's the one drawback of this particular device. However, it works just like a regular Cintiq. So and then if I ever need to go fully portable and can only have room to bring one device, then I can leave my laptop at home and take the Companion on the road and work on files there, and when it comes time to transfer it back, it's easy peasy. So since I've picked up the Companion, Wacom has released the Mobile Studio, which looks badass. I don't know if it has the tethering ability to hook into a separate computer so you can use it like a Cintiq like you can with the Companion. Like, the hybrid nature of the Companion really works for what I use it for, so I don't know if I would ever upgrade. But I'm very pleased with this setup. I'm running a MacBook Pro, one of the previous year's models. It's got a solid state hard drive, so things boot up really fast, so that's really cool. I've been so the weird thing is when I started using Cintiq, the baby Cintiq, I still had like the basic Intuos. I had a little Graphier that I was using before I upgraded to the Cintiq, and so my intention was to keep the little Graphier around in case I needed to do like a demo, or because the baby Cintiq was really hard as hell to carry around, and it was not at all useful. So taking that on the go wasn't an option, and I thought using the regular Graphier would be a great solution to go portable, because my workstation is my laptop, so this little 6x8 pad, stick it in your backpack, you're on the go, you're ready to go, good to go, and set up, and you can draw anywhere. So first day working at this new office, I get there early, I set up everything, turn on everything, plug in the Graphier. I can't fucking use it. I spend an hour trying to reteach my brain how to look here and draw down here, and I just could not retrain myself to do that. Like working in vectors was okay, because all you got to do is pull the Bezier curve and move it that way, but like I could not figure out how to retrain my brain, and I felt like an asshole, because like, oh, now I can't work without a Cintiq, how bougie is that? And that like I felt real bad for like the next week. I spent the next week trying to retrain my brain, and it just wasn't worth it. So the next week I bit the bullet, and I started bringing in that big ass not so portable Cintiq into the office, and I haven't looked back ever since. I still have that Graphier somewhere in the house, just collecting dust. So if you have need for a basic tablet, and just give me a call and I can just give you mine. But I was really upset, because I was like, no, I can't be one of those artists. Like my whole ethos, my whole philosophy in life is that it's not the tools but the hands that wield the tools. So it really shouldn't matter, someone using a entry-level Cintiq can do, or entry-level Wacom tablet can do just as good work as somebody using like the monster 22-inch thing that takes up an entire desktop. And here was one example where it was like, no, the tools actually matter. So I felt real pissed. I was just like, I cannot have turned into one of those assholes. I could not have turned into one of those people. I just ruined me. So now I'm stuck. If when and I hope it's not soon, because I still plan on getting as much value out of this as I can, but when this thing eventually dies, I'm gonna have to get another one, and it's just gonna break my heart, because like Cintiqs are not cheap. They're great products, but they are not. It's not something that you upgrade with every refresh, like a new Cintiq something comes out and you're like, oh, that's great, I'm gonna have to wait till this one dies, and by die I mean like explode and like burn a hole in the ground, because anything less than that, you still gotta make it work. So, but yeah, I can't believe I've become one of those guys now. Like I actually do depend on high-end equipment for the work I do. I don't want to do that. I guess it's, but I mean, you know, the gear does matter when it comes to things like opening programs, or if you do a lot of 3D modeling or 3D rendering, then the amount of RAM you have is going to make a difference. And you know, so the machine with computer work, the machine does certainly open up a lot of doors. Like if you're working on a piece of shit that's fighting you every day, it's going to take you more time to do something than if you had the proper gear. So, you know, at some point the gear does matter when it comes to digital work. In certain cases, I think. Like if you're running After Effects, you know, maybe an entry level like a Mac Mini isn't gonna cut it for you. Or like if you're trying to run Maya and you're running complex calculations, you're gonna need something with a lot of processing power. So there are definitely use cases for the gear, better gear, making your life a lot easier. I just never wanted to be one of those people. Now I'm like ingrained in Wacom's Cintiq ecosphere. I have not tried out any of the budget ones, like the Huion or the Monoprice tablets. So it would be interesting to do like a side-by-side comparison, because those are a lot more affordable. I hear that the drivers aren't so great for some of the Monoprice and Huion stuff. But I don't know, because I've been there's no real store. Like, we got a Micro Center, but Micro Center doesn't carry the Monoprice stuff, and they don't even carry Cintiqs. So if I wanted to test drive a Cintiq, I don't know where I do it. Like, besides going to a convention that has an Adobe or a Wacom setup, like, I don't know where I would test drive some of this stuff. PAX every year has a Wacom booth, so that's always cool. I think San Diego has one too, but you know, it would be nice if there was like a local store that had some of this stuff that I could try out. Just spend like a day test driving some shit, because you gotta kind of buy it sight unseen, and then you have to go to reviewers whom you trust and YouTubers whom you trust. And you know, you never know who's getting stuff for free, so they're more likely to give things a positive review, and who's like spending their own money on stuff. So I don't know, and I understand why it doesn't make practical sense, because the user base is not large for these kind of devices, but it would be great to be able to test drive some of this shit once in a while. Like, even if you're not in the market, even if you're happy with the device that you have, maybe you want to see what the newer ones, like if the newer models offer you anything that you might want to contemplate. Like, and it's probably a very slim user base. Like, I don't even know where you would set up that kind of thing. So I know why it doesn't happen. It just bummed me out. Because I don't want to have to wait for a convention to maybe test out something. That feeling when you've penciled so many lines you don't know which one you want to follow. One thing that I tend to do a lot, both in paper and digitally, is spin the canvas round and round. Certain directions are better for me to pull straight lines or longer lines than others, so I try to orient the canvas in the direction to give me the maximum pull. Folds on folds on folds. These coats kind of hide the underlying form of whoever's wearing them, so they're just kind of like big shapes. Just kind of poof out. Alright, hold on, I will be right back. Okay, back again. Alright, so, where was I? Oh yeah, hoppy coats. Look super comfy. They kind of hide the form. So for like an intimate night scene, it's not the best, but don't want it to be like over sexualization of these characters, because that doesn't ring true. Oh, hold on. I thought I heard Hazel calling me, but she is zonked out. Okay. So, lots of folds. Folds on folds on folds. Coloring in the hair like you just don't care. I don't like that sleeve. Alright, so let's delete that. Maybe it's just, yeah, that's a little bit more what I'm looking for. Oops. Okay, so far away, fewer details. coat almost looks too big for her, but that's kind of what I want to imply. Oh, I might redraw this. Yeah, I might redraw this. I'm gonna get rid of all of this here. So even though this is far away, I kind of like the silhouette it cuts, and this silhouette doesn't really match what's going on up here, so that's why I'm kind of redrawing things, because this is not good. Sometimes it's not a winner. So I try my best. That's why I'm still an amateur. This feels a lot better. Yeah, that definitely feels much better. Much more in line with what I was going for. The other nice thing about working digitally is, like, if you need to correct something quickly, you can erase large chunks of your work and then unfuck it. This is how the sausage is made, folks. Terrible, terrible comic sausage. All these forms were like, all these coats and overcoats and undercoats are kind of meant to hide the form for some reason. They're fun to draw, but it just, I don't know, sometimes makes the person look like a shapeless blob. Here's Lady Nobunaga as a shapeless blob. Here's Lady Nobunaga as a badass. I've been watching YouTube tutorials. That's a cat eye, right? So in the script, I think the ninja was supposed to be like a generic man ninja, but I made the ninja a lady. So we could pass the Bechdel test, because there's not a whole lot of females in this story. But then she talks about Lady Nobunaga's father, so it doesn't quite pass the Bechdel test. I tried, Koji, I'm sorry. This person is going to be mostly in silhouette, so I'm just kind of half-assing on details, which is an excuse for why this drawing sucks. But I think a lot of this is going to be hidden in shadow when I go to color it. Stretch, 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 stretch. Okay, so. Ninja, ninja, you suck at your job. Cha cha cha. I wonder why ninjas became so popular in the 80s. I mean, martial arts in general was pretty popular in the 80s, but like ninjas in particular. Why ninjas? Certainly the aesthetic I could see, but like these guys were paid assassins. Mercenaries. Disloyal people who are out for a buck. I guess that's not the part that ever gets talked about when it comes to ninjas. You always hear about like, oh, honor and stuff, but these guys were murderers and spies. But oh well. Ninjas were super popular. That begs the question, were ninjas never not popular after then? Because I feel like everybody loves ninjas. Like they're the turtles, certainly Naruto. Gatchaman, Space Ninjas, Gatchaman. Anytime there's a ninja season of Super Sentai, those tend to do pretty well. Camera. Baltan is technically a space ninja. I guess ninjas were always popular. This is another one of those cases where I need to do... There we go. Remember folks, if you don't use sound effects while you're drawing, you're doing it wrong. And swoosh, swoosh. This makes your sleeve go swish, swish. And pocket brush. Okay, so here's our I forgot what female ninja were called. Lady Ninja Pants. I want to say kitsune, but I don't think that's correct because kitsune is like a fox spirit. Maybe they call them kitsune because they're foxy. Dude, I have the internet. What am I doing? Let's see. Female ninja. Kunoichi. That's right. They were known as kunoichi. Kunoichi. I knew it was with a K, so there I go. What are you doing here? I'm going to stab you. Alright, so that was page 14. This is page 1, going all the way back to the start of this. So we'll call this inks. I'll turn down the opacity on this. And this is a pretty dramatic opening page, so we'll give some of this a little bit of texture. Schmook, schmook. Oops. This is what it looks like when you chop someone's head off. Flink, flingy dink. Flink, 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 flink. And here's the speed lines. These are people ganging up on Yasuke, and they're all foot soldiers, so it's supposed to look like a pile of bodies just pounding away at him, so I'm gonna sloppily draw this stuff in here. Just kind of make it look like a pileup of fists and arms and people beating him and hitting him and this is what we call scribbling in a crowd. Maybe I'll use the same brush to ink this opening spot because it's supposed to be kind of terrifying. No, that's too loose. I think that's too loose. The old Liefeld mist trick where you cover everything with mist. I think it's funny. No one else thinks it's funny. My hand's fucking hurting. Where is my... There we go. This mask piece is a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to design. Now I gotta recreate it in a couple of panels, and it's a lot more complex than I should have made it. But it looks really cool when you model it. I have a 3D model of it, and you know, I would love to get a 3D print of just this faceplate. Not that I designed these things with cosplayers in mind. But I would love somebody to cosplay as my version of Yasuke. That would be really cool. Even if it's not completely accurate. I love the demonic aspect of this mask. Clearly, anytime I can design something with fangs or claws or monstrous anything, I'm gonna take it. Okay, where are we? Back here. No, come back. Come back on my reference. When drawing an even set of teeth, it helps to start from the center. Pro tip. Rivet here, rivet there, rivet here, rivet there. Pattern here. Pull that around. around. The demon's eyes, rah! That is not a happy look. Alright, here's where I'll start using that pocket brush. Add some of that wildness to the strokes. That looks crazy, like it could be crazy. think this deserves a little bit more oomph to it, so I'm gonna use the pocket brush. This is random, but I wonder who has the movie rights to Blade. Because this Black Panther trailer, holy shit, it looks amazing. And you know, all the news outlets that don't typically cover comics are saying, oh, this is the first Marvel Black hero movie that they've done. And I'm like, y'all better call Wesley Snipes, because he was there, man. Blade was there. And I don't remember who made the movies. Like, I don't remember if it was a Fox property or if it was like Lionsgate or whoever, but where is Blade in all this? Like, why hasn't there been a Blade something? Like maybe like a Netflix series or something. Maybe they just want to give it a rest a little bit, but I mean, the property is there, man. People love Blade. Vampires are, well, I guess vampires aren't in anymore, but I don't know. Blade was cool. I feel like you could do something with Blade. Maybe they feel that enough has been done with Blade, which I guess is fine. You know, there were 2.5 good movies. Second one was kind of cool. It had that really terrible CG fight segment in there. But I don't know, I thought it was alright. Then that third one came along and it was just like, oof. But Blade was fun, man. But I think Black Panther might have a little bit more staying power than Blade did, which is great, because man, it's weird being a nerd and a minority. Like, all this stuff is great on one hand, because like I never thought that Iron Man would be the Marvel guy. Like when I was growing up, Iron Man was at best like a C-list character, and now he is, you know, thanks to Robert Downey Jr. and the movies, you know, everyone knows who the hell Iron Man is. He's almost a staple of the Marvel movie universe, which is great. But at the same time, you know, it's not a very diverse field. The Marvel movies are fun and I love them and I will support most of them, but they lack a lot of diversity. you know. And the same thing with X-Men. X-Men is supposed to be sort of like a allegory for racism, you know. At the time they were bringing up issues of diversity and ethnicity and couching it in the notion of mutants and the treatment of mutants as the perpetual other. And, you know, in a property that's almost literally about racism, to have the comics and the movies be so homogenous and lack any real diversity is just kind of a bummer, man. So being a nerd these days is great, but being a nerd of color, as Keith says, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, it's great that all this stuff is getting made. It would just be nice if we were also portrayed in some of these things. I mean, you know, even this Wonder Woman movie, which was absolutely fantastic, for what DC has put out so far, like, you definitely felt a distinct lack of diversity. Certainly we saw many people of color on Themyscira, but we didn't spend a lot of time on the island, and I felt like that was a real big missed opportunity. I kind of went on a Twitter rant after I saw it. It was like, I want Amazon this, I want Amazon that, I want to spend more time on Themyscira. Go on an entire network devoted to life and culture on Themyscira, because we got little bits and hints of it, but, you know, not anything really in depth. I would have been perfectly fine if the entire first movie was took place entirely on Themyscira, but that's just me. I was like, I don't need a man in this movie. Like, I'm fine. Like, there are plenty of men superheroes. If we spend the entire film on Themyscira and learning about the ways of the warriors, that's perfectly fine by me. Steve was fine. Chris Pine is fine. I just, you know, it would have been fine also if he was in the second film. The first film was all about the island and Diana and her journey to becoming a warrior. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really loved the No Man's Land scene, and I think that was a huge moment for the character, and I would never want to take that away. But, like, it would have been fun also to have more time on Themyscira. Like, we don't get any sense that Diana has a friend. You know, at the very least we should have seen, like, her with a friend. Like, maybe her friend is encouraging her to go out and to see the world or something. I don't know. Just some indication that she was part of the world, part of Themyscira, instead of what it seemed like, the perpetual outsider. Like, they didn't accept her as one of theirs for some reason, and we don't find out until the end of the movie. But, like, it would have been great to see her with a companion that would encourage her to join the world and fight the fight or something. I don't know. Maybe the second movie will be allowed to expand on that, because it really felt like a lot was riding on this one, and you know, you had to hurry up and get Diana into the modern world so she could experience life outside of Themyscira. But it was a lot of fun. I forgot what my original point was. But yeah, I want more of that. I want more movies that are willing, more the superhero movies that are willing to break out of their the typical mold. And I think Black Panther is gonna do that in spades, so I'm super excited about that. You know, and at the same time I was watching it, I was thinking, that's awesome. When are we gonna get the Asian version of this? Because let me tell you, Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, ain't nobody looking forward to that. Ain't nobody looking forward to your low budget excuse for Bruce Lee. Come on now. Firestorm, you can't use him because he's a mutant, so Fox has that. Iron Fist, we already know about Iron Trash Bag. And how they've decided to go with that one, so like Amadeus Cho, I guess, is the current Incredible Hulk, but they haven't, we don't know what they're going to be doing with Hulk now. We're going to get some Planet Hulk stuff in the new Thor Ragnarok, so that'll be cool, but there's no indication of what's going to happen next. So it's like, when's it going to be our turn? There's no real good Marvel equivalent to Luke Cage. I mean, that was such a great show. So I'm slightly disappointed as a nerd for what Marvel has been giving us. It hasn't been much. I should give Yasuke a big ass sword. So. I kind of like the notion of him doing all this stuff without one. I'll give him a Noguchi. Noguchi! See here. Images. Noguchi desu. Like the kind Mifune wields in the Seven Samurai, just a egregiously long sword. All right. My hands are actually hurting here, so I might take a break in a bit. Oh my gosh. I tweaked my fingers climbing a while back, and I'm instead of taking time off and not climbing, I've been re-injuring my tendons. So I think that's a detriment to my health. But I'm slightly obsessed with rock climbing, or indoor rock climbing. Outdoor scares me, because I'm a wuss. But not everybody's Alex Honnold. That kid is... Whew, that's some next level shit, man. I cannot wait for the footage of his free soloing of El Cap. That's gonna be fantastic. You know, to think that we live in an era where somebody could climb El Cap without any ropes, it's just mind-boggling. As I reach over for my anatomy reference. Okay. So there's this shape. So many muscles, so many muscles. Tend to get crazy after a while. All right, I think I'm gonna stop here. My hand's starting to really hurt. Oof. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in to this after the fact, because hardly anybody tuned in while it was going on. And I'll catch you later. All right, thanks.